It's game time again. Hello and welcome to the Three Blind Mice podcast. I'm joined as always by my two cohorts in crime and fellow former officials Don Nardecchia and Jim Borgia. We're also co-authors of the Officials Tales book, now available on Amazon Kindle and Amazon Books. Remember to push the like and subscribe buttons as well, and the alert button to get a reminder of when we post the next video. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope you enjoy today's topics. Two topics today of discussion will be the new NFL rules and how they will affect the lower level games eventually. And of course, the controversial screen call. Legal, not legal, what was it? We'll go over that. Again, good morning, gentlemen.
Hey, Rick. See you, Jimmy.
It's afternoon, son.
Oh, it's afternoon in your place? Okay, great.
It's afternoon in your place, too.
Hey, so
that means he's had breakfast, but not lunch.
Yeah, well,
there you go.
Certain things don't connect, you know what I mean? It's like the five good eyes, you know. There's only so much you can do.
See?
So
there you go.
There you go.
I'm wrong eye. Wrong eye.
Yeah, it was the left one that was the bad one. Yeah.
All right. Go. So how are things going? How are things going, gentlemen? What's happening?
Who walked in?
Just a great weekend for sports here. This is a great time of year. Baseball starting, basketball ending, Masters. Hey, it's a great time of year.
You, Jimmy, anything new and exciting? Any more fillings that fell out or anything we should know about?
No, thank God. No, I'm good.
All right. Well, hey, guys, our first topic today is going to be the new NFL rule changes, the kickoff placement and coverage, hip drop tackles, which are sort of like an addition to the horse collar tackle, and how they might affect high school and college games, more excitement or player safety or both. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the football video from YouTube, and we are going to launch. And here we go.
Several major rule changes in the NFL designed.
Ooh, she's a rule changer.
Alt is here.
Down.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, so a lot of people for the first time are hearing about what's called a hip drop tackle. It's a technique that even some professional football players say they had never heard of. And we're going to show it to you because league officials say this is an especially dangerous play to the point they have now banned it, along with seriously overhauling the kickoff.
This morning, the NFL rolling out new rule changes aiming to protect player safety, though some players say they're out of bounds. League owners voting unanimously to ban what's known as a hip drop tackle, like one seen here, where a player wraps up the runner and drops their weight onto the runner's upper legs to bring them down.
You see Jimmy Ward, he kind of dropped.
League officials say last year there were 230 of these types of tackles, leading to 15 players missing playing time from injuries. That's at least 20 times the rate of typical tackles.
This is elimination of a swivel technique. The runner is purely defenseless.
But the NFL Players Association and many current and former stars say the rule goes too far. Former Defensive Player of the Year J.J. Watt tweeting, "Just fast forward to the belts with flags on them." But another rule change may be even more radical. Positioning on kickoffs will be drastically different. The old way looked like this.
Ball in the air.
The new way will look like this, with only the kicker and returners being allowed to move until the ball is caught. The goal, reducing violent high-speed collisions and increasing exciting play.
What the league is hoping to accomplish is that the kickoff becomes more a part of the game, and the league believes it will actually be a safer play.
And this change to kickoffs is just a one-year trial for now. It's possible next year it could go back, or it is part of that delicate balance to try to reduce the risk of football, but also keeping football.
Well, good luck.
That's a way to start it, right? So, okay, Don, you and I are the football officials here. So let's hit the hip drop tackle first. So what do you think? What are your opinions on that?
I've seen some of the footage about what this is, and you know, a lot of time a guy will try to tackle around the waist as the runner tries to break through it. that grasp by the defensive player slides down the leg, and he starts to drag the player. Well, the player is going to try and move his weight most effective way possible to put a stop to that player. And what they do, and this is an interesting term I just picked up watching this video, the swivel hip technique, and that's a good identifier rather than the drop leg or whatever they introduced it as, because it allows them, while they're still hanging on, to throw their weight over, and it's generally behind the runner because they were catching up from the backside. Mm-hmm. When I see that when their legs come around, it's usually above the calf, and if the player goes down to a way, it opens the knee up for injury when the runner's own weight comes back on the leg of the defensive player and smashes that down between his calf. I can see why it leads to more injuries, but this may be a one and done. I think we're going to see a lot of those this year, because you've got some big tight ends out there, and cornerbacks usually don't cover them. It's usually the safety who's a little bigger, but you put two wideouts, to put two tight ends as wideouts, you're going to have some of those corners trying to cover that. That's about the only way they can bring them down. I don't know about this one. It's good to try, and I've said many times that in the NFL, as compared to high school and then college and NFL, the NFL is expensive to go watch. It's showtime to the highest degree, and they often put safety by the wayside in order to maintain showtime. The big hits, the long runs, and all that, and at each level, starting at the high school, there are a lot of safety rules in there. As you go up to college, not quite as many. When you get to the NFL, you don't see an NFL defensive player wearing knee pads, hip pads, all that stuff. None of that. And can you believe they don't protect their knees? Come on now,
Yep. Well, Jimmy, now, you being a former superstar high school football player, what's your
back in the day?
Back in the day,
well, watching the NFL games and stuff, and then all of a sudden a flag comes out of nowhere as the play heads towards the sideline. You can't stop midair trying to tackle somebody. Like Don said, I think it's a one and done, because what's the defensive player going to do? Kind of hold back because you don't want to get an additional 15 yards tacked on. You're driving for a field goal, and all of a sudden, hell, you're inside the 10. You can get a touchdown, put the game out of reach.
Yep. Well, like I was talking about in pre-show, I think this sort of is an add-on to the horse collar safety rule. I think that's the whole idea. And where safety is great, and I think what Don was talking about earlier, where the difference between NFL, high school, college comes into play. They're more about the explosive. Hey, I'm going to rerun this on ESPN a million times, as opposed to safety with your head up, tackling with your shoulder, driving, that thing. My concern is, they're concerned with safety, okay, but you're taking away, tackling areas and abilities for the smaller player and the larger players, as Don brought up. So now what's going to happen? Are we going to have more of the Nick Chubb type injuries? Because now the safeties and the corners and the linebackers are going to attack the knees. I mean, what's really going to happen here? So I kind of wonder if it isn't a one and done, as, where's the benefit? I mean, what are we going to do? So,
it may be redefined. I'll tell you what, the NFL will not admit they were wrong. They won't eliminate it. They'll redefine it.
100%.
Yeah.
So now let's go on. And now the second part of the video, okay, I found very nice. Because I actually watched, I believe it's called the UFL now. I watched one of those games this week, and I watched the kickoff positioning in action. It's pretty neat. I mean, it does take away those high impact collisions. It takes away the blocks in the back and all that, because I mean they're face to face, and just a few yards apart. And there were some run backs for touchdowns, guys. There wasn't an elimination of, oh no, there's no kick return for touchdowns. Oh yes, there are. So Don, what's your say on this?
I kind of like it, and I think if it works well here, you'll see it go down the line pretty quickly because kickoffs are. You see more and more touchbacks on that. It takes away a great play in a ball game, and
Sure.
many years ago, the National Federation, that's the high school rules, declared that any kicked ball that crosses into the goal line and into the end zone is
Right.
non-returnable. And it took away a play in high school that was really thrilling because the high school kids don't have the speed of a pro player.
Right.
They don't, very few have the speed of a collegiate player, and that's those high speed, high impact hits on the ball carrier, an offensive player on a defensive man flying down the field trying to make a play. Those can be debilitating. Look at the kid from Buffalo get laid out last year.
That's
Those
right.
high speed things, or 2 years ago it was now. So I like what they're doing here. I think you're going to see because how close the defense and the I should say the kick team and the return teams are to the player fielding the ball. I think you're going to see some trick plays there. It was always fun to see the old reverse or lateral. Maybe a player dropping back and throwing a backwards pass across field.
Sure.
I think the possibility of seeing those now, because as close as they are, if you can get one out to the opposite side with a couple of blockers out there, so all you have to do is beat two guys down the field. So I think that'll happen a lot more next year, and that's good. Those are the big plays that are fun to watch.
Sure. Jimmy, what
Have
do you
they
think?
had they tried that in the UFL?
This has actually
The
been
kickoff
going
thing?
on. Yes,
Has it?
if you watch a UFL game, I believe they have them every weekend. If you watch one, you will see this play, and it's actually very exciting. I mean, now I'm gonna cue you up here, Jim. They didn't tell you this in the video, okay?
Right.
But somewhere around 90+% of the kickoffs in the NFL are touchbacks.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're having is, as a fan, okay, you're sitting there watching the game. We have a score, we have a timeout, give it a commercial, blah blah blah, right? So then we kick it off. It goes for a touchback. Boop, timeout, blah blah blah. So now it's just a waste. It for the NFL. It wastes an opportunity for their product to be on TV, because a kickoff's going out of the boundary. I mean, it's going out of the end zone. Big deal.
And look how many times you have a kickoff in a pro game. Obviously at each half, but then after every scoring play, there's a lot of field goals scored in the NFL besides touchdowns. So you have a lot of kickoffs in a game, and you maybe have I'm going to say 10 kickoffs a game. 9 of them are going to be wasted time just because it's going to be a touchback, and I just think it's going to bring excitement back to the game, and it's going to take the danger of those high impact, high speed hits out of the game. I like it. And the other thing I like is that was either last year they had the USFL and the XFL, and they combined those two leagues for this year. So I don't know which one used that kickoff mechanic last year, but here it is, one of those leagues that the NFL does have a lot of interest in, and I think a lot of their officials also work in that. They're newer officials. I like the fact that they acknowledge and tip their hat to to those leagues and that they showed them a rule that they want. They probably asked them to put that in so they could study it for a year. And that's good. It's good for the game, I think.
Jimmy, what do you think?
I haven't seen it, but I think I'll take a quick glance at it this weekend and see. To me, like you said, 90% of them are touchbacks. To me, when a team is grabbing the ball at the 5-yard line, trying to get to 25, that's kind of stupid. Why not just take the touchback and put the ball? What is it at the 25?
It's
20.
It's at 25. 25.
Okay, why would you even grab it at the 5 and get tackled at the 15 when you've already lost 10 yards? That's
exactly
about as asinine as heck. I don't understand that for the life of me.
Exactly, and I think what we're trying to do is they're trying to make the game more fun yet safer. So,
right.
Well, I think that's we're on to our next one now. This one. Okay, this one happened in a Final Four basketball game, girls.
But wait a minute, we need to go to a commercial.
Oh, we're going to a commercial.
Oh, hey,
yeah, Junior Mints, they're refreshing, as Steinfeld and company would say.
Just don't drop them in your picture.
You want some? Just don't let them drop into your person that's getting operated on.
That's Jim Jr. making that advertisement.
Yeah.
I see that. I see what's going on here. So anyway, so to cue up the next video, now this is going to perk up a lot of controversy again, I'm sure. It's the Final Four game. It's a last-second possession by the team that's behind, and there was a call that was made, and we'll give you our insights right after we get started on the
okay,
video.
let's put people on the notice to watch play right at the foul line and the free throw lane intersection on the same side as the UConn bench. There's going to be a screen there, so you watch the player from UConn that is setting the screen. And if I remember right, this video will show it in slow motion after we see it full speed.
Okay, so away we go.
A trip to the title game on the line. Mule, the drive.
There.
Look, Badgers in the offensive foul. An offensive foul on Edwards with 3.9 to go.
So let's see that again.
Mule, the drive. 5 seconds left. Looking for Badgers in the offensive foul. An offensive foul.
Okay. So here we go now, gentlemen. Don,
hey,
what do you say?
This one drew a lot of controversy on Twitter or whatever it's called now, XYZ or
yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
And I got the biggest kick out of it. I watch it, and I guarantee you, folks, that is a legitimate illegal block, also known as a screen.
Moving screen.
The rule book, it addresses it as a blocking foul. Now, it happened quickly. There was movement by the player trying to screen into the path of the player that was trying to guard the UConn player. One criteria, stepping out in front. As she did that, she was about on that intersection of the free throw line and the lane line. She stepped out toward the 3-point line. Her leg was extended well beyond the width of her body, and she had her arms in, but she leaned her shoulder over to catch her also. So she had the leg way too wide for where she was, and she leaned the shoulder out just so quickly as she stepped that she caught that girl pretty good. Now, there's everything about that block is wrong. A defensive player has right on the floor to a space that is basically the width of the outside of her shoulders down to the floor. Anytime you extend your leg outside that width from shoulders down, you're starting to get into the illegal block situation. She was extended well out there because she took a step or a slide and a step towards the 3-point line in order to pick this girl off. Now she had her arms in, so that reinforces her shoulders, but she also leaned just a bit as that girl was coming. It's the offensive player's job to make a pick work is to run her body as close as she can to her teammate, so her teammate doesn't have to step out or lean out to make that screen work illegally. Okay. Right. So it was called right there. Boy, did we hear it about let the players decide the game and every way, shape, or form about that call. It all came down to let the players decide the game. But if there's two schools of thought I have about this. Number one, you hear that quite often when somebody blows their whistle in the last 5 or 8 seconds of a game and the ball changes hands. Let the players win the game. Okay, so if you see that screen and you ignore it because it's the last seconds of the game and you want to let the players decide the play, if that girl that was had the defender chasing her was able to set up and launch a 3 and put it in, that official just decided the game by failing to call the foul that was obvious.
Sure did.
Now, the other side of it, that fourth quarter got a little physical coming down the stretch. And we talked about this in the previous show, I think, when one podcaster talked about a play in the early rounds of the NCAA men's tournament. Talked about the officials having too much power. And again, if you want to let the players decide, truly what you're saying is, you 3 guys, get off the court. It's commando basketball for the last 30 seconds. Let the players decide.
Sure.
Is that what we want? I mean, come on. We're there the whole time. It's just the official's job to make sure it maintains being a basketball game. And it might have... the physicality of that illegal block was somewhat like a lot of the rebounding, the intensity and the physicality of the rebounding coming down that fourth quarter. So, if when you're a kid and you had an electric train, and if you brought it around the curve too fast, it was liable to go off the track once it hit a straightaway. That's what happened here. That curve the curve of that game, it got physical. Okay, so unless you step in to slow the guy down driving that train, which is the players, that game's going to go off the track. And that's nearly where they were and why people are screaming to let that play go. I can see both ways, but for goodness sakes, to say let the players decide, I think that's people that have never officiated the game, and I just think it's magnified because it was a national semifinal game. Most of those tournament games, I thought the people officiating those games did a wonderful job. I've seen a lot of those officials that worked in the women's tournament, especially the regional finals. I'd seen a lot of those officials down here at Clemson at the games, and every one of them that I saw, I thought was very good. So, I know what they've got there, and the way that post player stepped out to pick that player off, I'm just sure that official saw that as being just more than she should allow. And I agree.
Jimmy?
It's like Don said, and if you're watching it, and I don't know how many times I watched it, I replayed it and saw it in slow motion, saw it in actual time. As she was coming back around, the UConn player, she went to set the screen, and if you watch your feet now, and like Don said, your legal guarding area to set a so-called clean block is like shoulder width. You might even get a foot or two on both sides, but that girl make contact with the 3-point lane. She slid it out there. And if you watch, her right foot is still sliding before there's contact with the shoulder. And that's where a lot of people, especially UConn people, now I watched this on ESPN, this game, and I'm trying to think, why the hell did they have I know there was 2 ex-UConn players, or was the third one a UConn player too? Because they had, what's her name? Huh?
You're talking about when they were commentating on the
game that I was watching, they were commentating. Not they didn't have no regular people talking about the game. They were because the first thing out of what's her name, Tarowski's mouth, if that's how you pronounce it, I don't care. Dumb Dago name anyway. She's that's terrible. That's terrible.
This is what ESPN brings in former players, and she was a doggone good one. Even at WNBA, great player. But players don't know the rules, and
right.
And,
exactly.
And I can see the emotion of that, and that's the one chance ESPN takes when they put former players, especially players that formerly played for the team they're broadcasting.
Exactly.
Emotional
exactly.
Exactly. That's what they have to be careful of.
But you saw on Twitter, people talking about let them play, let them. This happened during the game. Now you got 10 people running around. Now, were those so-called picks the same as this one at the end, or was it just a kind of a brush off as they were going through the lane or coming around another player? I watched that game. I don't think I seen anything that physical with 10 people because, hey, we've been out there. There's going to be contact. But I don't believe the contact was that severe during the game as it was at the end. I watched it and I looked at it. Christ God, she was spread far enough that we could have slipped an elephant underneath her and she could have rode out on the elephant.
Well, I really
at least a horse.
I really think the play was designed to go out around the perimeter of the 3-point line.
Right.
And the post player positioned herself at the wrong place to pick off the defender.
Mm-hmm.
And when she realized she had missed it, she tried to get there in a hurry, and she didn't make it. So bingo.
Well, okay, now we've all been in the huddle with the coach. Okay?
Right.
And he's drawing or she's drawing up a play. All right? And we know that screen being set correctly is the key or the linchpin to that being the perfect play. Okay? So in my mind, and you have the game situation, game's on the line, clock's running out, you have the pressure of the people in the stands, and in that girl's mind, as a former player myself, that girl's mind, she's thinking, oh shit, I'm not in the right spot. So she's trying to slide to take the little guard from Iowa out of the play so that her teammate, could then have a clear lane or pass to the basket or potentially a 3-point shot. So I think it was a little bit chaotic because they really, like Don said, they screwed up the play. But as far as an official goes, I'm going to quote an official friend of mine who told me last weekend at a breakfast, at what point do we stop officiating? I think that was Mr. Nardecchia across from me at breakfast. But I agree 100%.
He's your friend?
Well, at some point, some would call us brothers. I really don't know. But anyway, at some point,
two of the three guys on the crew were
we're friends. Yeah, two of us anyway. But anyway, at what point do you stop? What point do they want us to stop officiating and swallow our whistles and let the players decide the game? That's that. I think that let's be honest, guys. That's the crux of the argument here. I mean, was it a foul? Absolutely. Did it affect the outcome of the game? Absolutely. But so would have the non-call.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, let's we didn't go down that path. Okay, let's let that play roll out. Okay, the girl gets a shot off. It's a 3. They win the game. Then the Iowa fans are devastated because an illegal play caused the outcome of a game. Now we've seen that in NBA, high school, college, NFL especially. Oh boy, have we seen it in the NFL where things just didn't get called and it affected the outcome of the game. So at what point do you stop being an official? You know, I think that's what we got to tell these young guys that are watching our podcast, reading our book. You know, that look, your job, it tells you in your book, your job doesn't end until you leave the field or the court. Okay? Do your job.
Right.
So I mean that's the key here, right? I mean, am I
Right.
wrong?
If you do your job and you do it right,
right.
They can't question your call. I mean, if you don't call it, they have to question your judgment because it was obvious a foul. I spoke yesterday or Thursday to one of the post players on Clemson's women's team. And I asked her if she saw that play. Oh, yeah. I said, I looked at it too, and that girl had her leg so far. Oh, she sure did. I mean, she saw it. She said, oh, my gosh, she sure did. She was way out of position for that.
Sure.
Well, there's a player at that same level, you know, just in her watching the game, she saw it too. So, you know, if you make something up, then you deserve to be feathered and tarred for it. But if you make the call properly, they cannot, you know, the judgment factor comes in. The only thing they can call those officials on is that maybe that play was let go in a different, not that exact play, but the physicality of that play was overlooked earlier in the fourth quarter on rebounding or whatever. And I just think that's a tough thing to do. You know, you want to let them play, but you got to really have that feel for when you need to step in and get the thing back on get the train on the track. The longer you wait, the more cars are involved in getting that whole train back on the track. So they start faulting a little bit. Let them try to get it. If they don't get it then it's time to step in. That's
the other thing too is let's put the shoe on the other foot. If it would have been Iowa doing that, would UConn been okay? There'd been no call there?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's.
But like I said,
and not and not to correct you, it's tar and feather, not feather and tar.
Well,
the feather sticks.
Yeah.
The feathers stick to the tar when it's on you.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know, and
I have to try that though.
yeah. See how it works.
Right.
But it depends what kind of feathers you have.
Right.
But in basketball, you blow the whistle quickly. Where football, you throw the flag and you talk about it. So in a football game, you know, that'd have been a little bit different. But anyway, hey Don, I see you're wearing your Masters gear today.
Hey,
is there a story behind that?
It's that great weekend, you know.
Are you sure we don't have time for another commercial?
No.
Well, it's the color of your shirt and the Masters, man.
Yeah.
They're refreshing.
Go ahead.
We once we knew that we were moving down to South Carolina, my wife sent in for Masters tickets, and that first year we were here, she signed up, I think, in June of 17. Around Thanksgiving, we found that we had been picked to get tickets, and we were surprised. So we'd heard so many stories about people that have put in for years and have never been selected. So we were selected for one of the 3 practice days. I might have been Wednesday. I don't remember. Maybe Tuesday. And we were home around Christmas time, and I was out at Eagle Creek, and my good friend and former boss, Wayne Babcock, who was superintendent of schools at Norwalk, he saw me, he come over, Donnie, I hit the lottery. My immediate thought was, this guy's retired and he did something. He's going to have more money in his pocket. And he goes, I finally got Masters tickets. And I'm thinking, oh, hey, Wayne, good for you. What day did you get them? And he told me, and I think he said Wednesday. And I said, good. I got them on Tuesday. He goes, how many years you been trying? You know, Wayne said 17 years he's been trying. He said, how about you? And I said, it's the first time. He goes, you got to be kidding me. So, I mean, we were lucky. And we also got picked last year to go down also. And had both times a girl that played golf for me at the high school who lives in Columbia, a couple-hour drive. We called her to go with us. And so this year she got picked and she called us to go. And it just so happened the oldest basketball officials association had their banquet, which included their Hall of Fame inductions for this year. And two of the guys that were on the football crew that I worked with for 32 years, they were also, two of us went in last year in the first year, these two guys this year. So that was a great reason to go home. And she certainly understood, but our son Corey went instead in one of our spots there because he was a senior on the team when Megan. Actually, he was a junior when Megan joined us, and then so it was fun. He had fun, and we had a great time up there and had breakfast with you guys. And
it was great.
Yeah.
Hey Jimmy,
by the way, I won $25 on the Keno.
Well, that's
well, you were pretty quiet about that, Jim.
Well,
I didn't know until I checked the tickets the next day because I tried to check them on my phone and it wouldn't help. It wouldn't let me.
How about that?
Hey,
right there with us. Yeah, he wins 25 bills. He wouldn't even pay for coffee.
What a coincidence that is.
Wait a minute. The last time you were home, I hit for $400 and who picked up the breakfast ticket?
What a coincidence that is.
Yeah, I bought that, and I was reminded that we should have taken a picture because this was probably won't ever see Jimmy do it again. By God, I can't think of any time that any of these two guys ever bought me anything after a basketball game.
I swore to God I would never pay for someone that ordered diet pop with light ice.
Well,
see me, I don't drink diet pop. That's you. That's you. Not me. No.
Remember, Jimmy only likes the French fry ends, the leftovers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the little bitty French fries that are like a thick potato chip.
The skin of the potato. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for today. And thanks for joining us, guys. It's great.
Just one thing I want to tell the folks. You see here that Rick and I, and Jimmy is too, we're all co-authors of a book called Officials' Tales. There are some hilarious stories of our many years on the basketball courts in North Central Ohio. Hilarious stories. There's some stories you got to figure out how in the world what's that coach thinking of? And there's a lot of stories about after game gatherings and stuff in the locker rooms. And we've worked hard on this over the last 8-9 months. So it's the e-version is available on Kindle ebooks, and the print version is in its very, very last stages of going to print. So that soon will be available. And what it is, I think, Rick, you're going to put that up on the Facebook page.
Yes, it'll be on our Facebook page.
And that's for Officials' Tales. And it put an apostrophe after the S from Officials. It's a oh gosh, I thought of the term. It's it's like a double possessive, I guess. Plural. It's a plural possessive. To put the apostrophe after a group of people. Officials' Tales.
So it sounds like we've been out on a bender and we just can't know what our name is.
Pokey Pig.
Pokey Pig. Well, I guess that's all, folks.
That's
and,
all.
Sounds like that. Poke pig. That's all, folks.
And we'll see you again next time. Until then, stay classy.
Yep.